Bar 911-970. I know I originally had this broadcast ready for an hour and a half from now at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. I got done with some of the things I had to do early, and I just have too much on my mind, and I don't want to mess it up or forget. So I thought I would just start this now. So those of you who are expecting the live show at 6:30, well, the show will probably be processed and uploaded by that time, so you'll still get to see it, and at the very least, you'll get to see it from the beginning. So my apologies for those who might have thought it was going to be at 6:30. Normally I don't change it. I just had too much to say. While I'm waiting for people to realize that the live show is actually going on now, I just wanted to do a little update about yesterday's video about the Obama executive order. I did leave a comment last night, so it's not like I tried to hide it or anything, but I found out after the video that the person I took that clip from, they didn't mention that that law was actually in effect since 2012. Which, if you think about it, is actually worse because it's been there and people didn't even know about it, at least most people. But the reason I'm not taking the video down or anything is because of the fact that, well, what if he used that as his ultimate quote-unquote trump card? Because now would be the best time. I mean, he wouldn't use it in 2015 because he's still president, so why would he need to do that? He wouldn't use it in 2014 or 2013 because, again, he was already president. So what if he did it in advance and early enough so people wouldn't connect the dots and say, oh, well, he's doing this now for this reason, so he could use it now, potentially. And a couple of people made some comments about that, and I'm like, you know what? I'm entitled to my opinion. You're allowed to disagree, but don't sit there and tell me I can't have my opinion. It doesn't mean I'm right, but at least this is where channels like these and others differ from the mainstream media. We might not always be right, but we're not afraid to take chances on things that we believe in. So with that being said, I don't regret that video, and I'm not taking it down because as of yet, Obama's still president and Trump is still president-elect. So a lot can happen in the next 2 months. So keep that up. And yeah, ironically, when I said that, it's like he's using it as a Trump card. It's kind of ironic when you think about it. But I want to talk now that I see that the people are coming in and starting to see that I started the live show early. So instead of 6:30, it's now. As you could see, the title of this is The Irony of the Left and the Right. And as you can see the image, sometimes Democrat, sometimes Republican, always stupid. I want to point out some ironies about this because I've been saying for a long time that I don't view myself as a Democrat or a Republican. I view myself as an individual. Because of the fact that if you're a Democrat, you're going to tend to want to be voting for your Democrat president or candidate, no matter what they say. And the same goes for the Republicans. My thing is, if you abolish the two-party system and just have individuals, you'll base hopefully your vote on the individual and what they believe in, and not just because they're on the same party as you. And there's so much pressure with this, and you could see this. But I want to point out some hypocrisy and some things that we may not even think about, how ridiculous these parties are on both sides. Because if you think about what, for example, the Republicans stand for, Republicans tend to be more the religious type, which is fine. And they also talk about the right to life. In other words, they want to outlaw abortion. Now, the ironic part is the right side, the Republicans, are pro-gun and pro-war. So they don't have a problem with a baby being born and not being killed, which is definitely something I agree with. But if you're out of the womb, then you can be murdered. So it's kind of ironic that the right-hand side of the equation talks about religion, but yet they believe in guns and war, which kind of contradict each other. So let's go to the hypocrisy of the left side. You see, the left side is always talking about unity and love and freedom of expression and, multiculturalism. They believe in all of that, and yet they are the side that is rioting in the streets right now. Now, the media will call it protesting, but when you destroy public property and you're stomping on cars and you're causing, tear gas to be shot at you because you're, causing fires and destruction, that is not a protest. That's a riot. So they're doing the exact opposite. Now, they talk about peace, love, and harmony, and yet therefore the right to life, the right to choose, which means they're against, telling people what they can do with their body. So they are about peace and love as long as you're not a fetus. So if you could see the irony of how ridiculous both sides are, you have the right side that is mostly religious, that has the right to life, but will have guns and have no problem with wars. And you'll have the left side that always talks and preaches peace and unity, and they're rioting, and they are okay with murdering children, babies that are not wombed, that are not outside the womb. Because as you could see, one of the things that Hillary Clinton was for was third trimester, 9-month abortions if the mother was in danger. And I would challenge any liberal out there that's all into the peace, love, and harmony, and there's nothing wrong with that, that says, oh, a woman's right to choose. I want them to watch an abortion video where they literally rip the baby out of the womb and tear it limb to limb, murdering it, and see if they still vote for that. But because you have this two-party system, well, you may think that's a disgusting thing. But yet, if you're a Democrat, you wanted Hillary, and you're willing to say, okay, that's not as important. Or any other thing that your politicians do. And I mean, look at the biggest illusion they try and educate us with. They've told you since you were a child that anyone can become president. Well, I challenge anyone out there to find me a person in this country throughout its history that started out as a homeless person, that ended up becoming president, and didn't have to spend tremendous amounts of fiat currency to get that position. I mean, even Donald Trump himself said he spent over supposedly $100 million of his own money. How many average people out there can afford that? And that was only because he used the media to get a whole bunch of free advertisement. So the problem is the freedom of choice that they provide you, and I've used this analogy before, and I haven't used it in a while. If I were to take my arms and spread them apart, it gives the illusion of separation, because you have one side all the way stretched out and the other side all the way stretched out. But if you follow them in, they connect to the same entity. So let's say my left hand was Democrats and the right hand is Republican, and I said to you, pick which one is going to punch you in the face. Well, according to their choice and their freedom, you have the freedom to pick which one is going to punch you in the face. But make no mistake, either one is going to not be what you want. And until we abolish this system the way it's set up, because unfortunately, what could have started out as a good idea as a republic was tainted and corrupted by people of power and people of currency. And that is why on either the left or the right, they look at the average person as that, average. The ordinary people, the regular people. What makes you ordinary? What makes you average compared to some elitist person on either side? Because make no mistake, the Democrat Party is very wealthy. The Republican Party is very wealthy. The media is very wealthy. The major corporations are very wealthy, and they all extract from us like a vampire sucking blood. And because that vampire may be nicer to you while they suck their blood, you seem to think it's okay. But make no mistake, that's what they're doing. So if you're a left or a right, what you're saying is you want to be pigeonholed into one ideal instead of being a person that is not controlled by any political system and could think according to what is being presented to you at that time. And Kurt, I've given you a lot of freedom here, but your freedom is going to be very much terminated here if you continue to talk about things that have nothing to do with this topic. Congratulations with your bitcoins. If you want a fiat currency that they could shut off at any moment, be careful what you wish for. This discussion is not about Bitcoin, so I'm going to respectfully ask you if you want to brag about Bitcoins, a fiat currency that is a digital currency which proves that the New World Order can even get the people that claim to be free, then go to a person that's making a live Bitcoin show. I've given you lots of freedom here, and I'm starting to question why you're here. One of those people that I talk about that pretends to be a friend and yet does things like this. So if you want to be proud that you're a left person, what that says to me, and I know, Kurt, you say this all the time. Sorry, man, I didn't mean to upset you. That should be on your gravestone because you say that every time. So, Kurt, your window of opportunity is going to be ending today if you don't stop. Okay? And this is what I'm talking about. The people that pretend to be one way and do another. The people that cannot decide for themselves. Well, Kurt, if you're here then because you like me, then respect my wishes. Do not talk about things that are not the topic here. If you are interested in Bitcoins and you have every right to, go to another channel that's discussing that. We're not discussing that here. So that's the end of that. And this is why I don't like to read comments. But Kurt, I'm telling you, my patience is running thin with you because this is every time. So I'm pointing you out. So let's get back to the topic on hand. This is what I'm talking about. The fact that people pigeonhole themselves into one ideal, and we think that no matter what choice, we think it's going to be different. And that's why I find it ironic, because I used to talk a lot about symbolism in this country. And our symbolic bird is the bald eagle. And you see many a time where they'll depict an eagle with their wings spread wide. Again, the illusion of separation, because they seem far apart. And you have a left wing and you have a right wing. Does that sound familiar in politics? But if you follow the wings inward, they are connected to the same entity. Okay, Kurt, I'm going to say goodbye to you now. You've gotten a chance and you didn't take it, so take care. Okay, and people can't say I'm not fair to people, but his time here has passed. So anyway, what I was talking about is the fact that if you have an eagle and the symbolism is you have the left wing and a right wing, you'll say, "Oh, well, I like that left wing better," or "I like that right wing better." But they're connected to the same entity. And this is why they are always going to pretend to hate each other on camera, but they're golfing with each other, they're going to dinner parties together. I mean, go look at the roast after the third supposed debate between Hillary and Donald Trump, and go see how much of a great time they were having with each other. This is how they really are, where they will say certain things on camera. And the idea is to get us, the people who are the masses, who can take away their power, to, instead of all uniting and focusing on them who are the problem, they focus on the little things so we could hate each other. And see, like, for example, I'll use Kurt as an example. I don't hate the person, I don't know them. But if at a certain point a person does not listen, all we can do is just dismiss them. But that doesn't mean the person should be murdered or chastised. I'm not going to tell anybody to attack the person. He has the right to be silly and foolish if he so chooses to, and then use the old, "I'm sorry, I'll never let it happen again" routine. But what I'm talking about is the bigger people can walk away from it and then the problem is solved. So my thing is, until the people out there realize that we're being played, we are going to continue to fight amongst ourselves. And it's okay, people argue. And that's fine. I've had plenty of people in my life I've argued with. But I've never wanted to murder anybody. I've never wanted to take away their freedoms. And that's what's happening right now. And the Pig Hater 101, you guys come up with some interesting names, says, "Bar none, what would you call yourself? An anarchist?" No, here's the problem. I don't categorize myself as anything. I am a human being. When you categorize yourself, you limit yourself to that particular ideal. And this is the point I'm trying to make from people. Stop labeling yourselves. because then that restricts you of being in different ways, that your points of views may change. That all of a sudden something you believed in, something can come along and change that. But if you stick yourself in a certain agenda, then they trap you by separation. So no, I don't consider myself an anarchist. I don't consider myself any kind of ism. I consider myself me, which means I can have any ideal I want and change any ideal according to the situation at hand. That is the problem. And they can also manipulate words. Like you see the media saying, like these riots, they don't say what they are. They call them, these are anarchists. So they're making you think that if you're an anarchist, then that means you like to destroy things. So they love to do things like that. So stop being any kind of political system or any kind of agenda and just be you. And until we can figure that out, there are always going to be these people who will manipulate us. And that's why I don't mind the whole thing with what happened between Kurt and me on this little moment. Because I hold no ill will, and after today, that person will be forgotten. There is not going to be all of my subscribers going and hurting the person or trying to find out something about that person. No, it was just a simple disagreement. It didn't go the way I wanted, and you end it and move on. And that's what we need in this world. But because we're so stuck with ideals and worrying so much about what everybody in a group says, they want to fit in, that you'll actually sacrifice some of your beliefs to follow an agenda. And they never lead you anywhere good. If you spend your whole life having somebody else lead you, what you're saying is you hope that person is going to lead you in the right direction. And obviously one ideal cannot do that for everyone. Because I'm sure there are plenty of Republican people out there that might be so religious that they don't believe in murder. But that would go against the Republican Party, wouldn't it? And there could be plenty of people on the left-hand side that believe in peace, unity, and harmony, but don't want to believe in abortions because that's murdering of babies. But then you'll say, well, I'm a Democrat, so Hillary is a Democrat, and, she kind of goes for what I want, so even though there are some things I'm totally 100% against, I'm going to vote for her because she's a Democrat and I have to support my party. And the same thing with the Republican side. The whole thing is, people need to be individuals. It's okay to listen to other people, but if you spend your whole life needing to be led, be careful what you wish for. So, I'm not going to make this video any longer. I think I said what needs to be said. I think if you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you view yourself as an anarchist or anything, you're pigeonholing yourself in an ideal. Why can't we just be humans? What is so wrong with that? Why do we continue to allow these people to control us by getting angry at it? It's okay to be angry, but if you live on anger your whole life, you're never going to find peace. There's so many even religious people that talk about peace and harmony as well. But where is it? And that, like, all of a sudden now everybody's racist. If you like Donald Trump, for example, you're automatically a racist. I've heard this so many times. Like, all of a sudden racism was just invented since Donald Trump decided to run for office a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Are you telling me there was no racism before that? Obama has been given an 8-year pass on the economy because everybody to this day still says, he had to take over for George Bush. And yet, Trump isn't even in office yet, and already it's his problem. It's his fault. Do you not see the hypocrisy? So as usual, I want to thank everybody for coming here. And if you want to label yourself, be careful what you wish for. They're going to continually control us. They'll get both sides. That's why it switches. You notice that it goes from a Republican to a Democrat. And then when we get tired of this Republican, they're going to go to Democrat. When you're tired of the Democrat, you're going to go to Republican. It's back and forth. Has any president, since we've had presidents, created anything closer to a utopia? Are the people better or worse? Why can't we get this? But please, everybody fight amongst themselves and keep pigeonholing yourself and see how they continually take the advantage of you. These people, like I said, these politicians on both sides, they are vampires. So if that vampire is sucking your blood, whether you hate them or like them, they're still draining your energy. And your energy is your manpower or woman power, your time and your money. And they're stealing it from you and making you thank them for it because maybe one didn't take as much away as the other. They're still stealing from you. So thanks for watching, guys. I always appreciate you hearing my thoughts. You don't have to agree with them, but just respect the fact that I have the right to make them. So thank you so much, and don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered.